Call to order the November 13th, 2017 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to start with an invocation given by Commissioner Polton, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we gather tonight, let us use our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits of each issue before us this evening. Also, let us remain mindful of our responsibility to the past and the future of the city, and allow us to continue to make decisions in accordance with what is best for the entire community. As always, we ask you to keep our family and friends healthy and safe, and continue to watch over our men and women proudly serving our country and our city. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, up next we have a couple proclamations. The first proclamation we're going to give is designating Wednesday, November 15th as America Recycles Day. The second one is a proclamation designating Saturday, November 25th as Small Business Day. I'm going to read the proclamation because my words pale in comparison to the words drafted here. Proclamation designating November 15th, 2017 as America Recycles Day. Whereas the City of Royal Oak recognizes the importance of protecting and preserving our natural resources and adopting conscientious habits that will improve our daily lives and bring about a cleaner, economical, and more sustainable environment. And whereas for every ton of recyclables collected in Royal Oak and delivered to SACRA, the city earns a credit instead of paying to dispose of trash. And whereas the city's recent rollout of mixed recycling bins has increased recycling rates in the city by 20%, and we must continue to explore opportunities to improve waste reduction, composting, the reuse of product and materials, and purchasing recycled products. And whereas, by encouraging businesses, state agencies, nonprofit organizations, schools, and individuals to celebrate American Recycles Day 2017, we can further promote recycling as a daily, environmentally efficient, and economically smart habit. And whereas, state and community leaders can help encourage recycling by informing citizens about local recycling programs, they can also help foster greater awareness of the need to expand collections programs by promoting the benefits of recycling for businesses and the environment. And whereas, it is important that all City of Royal Oak residents become involved in recycling activities and learn more about the many environmentally friendly recycled and recyclable products available to them as consumers. It is also fitting for the City of Royal Oak to celebrate America Recycles Day 2017 and act by educating citizens and businesses about the recycling options available in our community. Now therefore, be it resolved, I, Mayor Michael Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission do hereby designate November 15th, 2017 as America Recycles Day in the City of Royal Oak. I present this to Mr. Regan and his guest, Mr. Assel. Thank you for all your efforts. The floor is yours. Commissioner, wish to say something.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Those big recycling bins were a big hit, literally, excuse the pun.
Yeah.
Mr. Cameron. There, Sean. How are you, Sean? So our next proclamation is designating Saturday, November 25th as Small Business Day. For those of you who don't know Sean, he recently joined us. He's now the manager of the DDA, and he's helping us out with many of the goals that we've aspired as a community, at least relative to our downtown. And all the feedback I hear and the feedback from the City Commission, my personal feedback, is that he's doing an amazing job so far.
That's encouraging.
So you set the bar high, so keep it up. Proclamation designating November 25th, 2017 as Small Business Saturday. Whereas the City of Royal Oak, Michigan celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 28.8 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all businesses with employees in the United States and are responsible for 63% of new jobs created over the past 20 years. And whereas small businesses employ over 49% of all businesses with employees in the United States, and whereas 89% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses contribute positively to local community by supplying jobs and generating tax revenue, and whereas 87% of consumers in the United States agree that small businesses are critical to the overall economic health of the United States, and whereas 93% of consumers in the United States agree that it is important for people to support the small businesses that they value in their community. And whereas the City of Royal Oak, Michigan supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission hereby proclaim Saturday, November 25th, 2017, as Small Business Saturday in the City of Royal Oak, Michigan, and urge our residents and residents from other communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Sean, I'll present this to you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any words?
Yeah, I have a few words, actually. Well, I'd like to thank the mayor and the commission for recognizing Small Business Saturday. I just want to make it known to the community that the DDA is making Small Business Saturday a very big deal this year. We have a number of giveaways. We have approximately 30 small retail businesses participating in the downtown district this year. If any visitor or customer comes in and makes a purchase of $25 or more, they will get a Royal Oak themed canvas bag, a Royal Oak holiday ornament, and in the bag they'll also get a variety of coupons and gift cards and a number of other items, merchandise, etc. So I encourage everybody to shop small in downtown Royal Oak on November 25th. Thank you.
For those of you who don't believe we need a new city hall,
You just did that on purpose, didn't you, Mike?
Mr. Marley.
Hi, I'm here to present the Outstanding Customer Service Award. This is awarded to 2 employees each quarter who provide exceptional service that demonstrates Royal Oak values and codes of conduct. This time we had 16 nominations, which came from both the public and from coworkers. Winners were selected by the customer-centric cultural team. And this quarter, for the first time, both employees come from the police department. Only one of them is here tonight, so we'll do the other one at a future meeting. But I'd like to ask Officer Nate Hepner to come forward, please. Hi. Officer Nate Hepner, a member of the Royal Oak Police Department, went out of his way to assist a new mother in her time of need. On 9/13 of 17, at approximately, as the police department put it down, 03:15 hours, that's 3:15 a.m., correct? The Royal Oak Police Department received a call from a concerned mother who stated she was breastfeeding her 13-day-old infant when her milk supply stopped. She advised that she was home alone, she was unable to drive, and she didn't have any family or friends in the area to assist her. She stated she needed to get formula for her baby. Officer Hepner responded and spoke to the mother. After speaking with her, he went to Myers, where he purchased baby formula and water out of his own pocket. He then returned to the home and provided guidance to the mother on how to mix the formula, as she had never done so. I take it you were already experienced at this? A little bit. The resident was extremely appreciative. Officer Hepner stated he purchased the formula because he was unsure if the mother had the means to do so. Our team was very impressed by the extra time and effort Nate put into ensuring this new mother had everything she needed and was confident in using the formula. His actions showed a great deal of kindness and empathy. Thank you for your service, Nate. Plaque. And we also have the Department Award, and in this case, it's an absolute shutout because we'll have another police officer in a couple of weeks for the other one.
Excellent, thank you.
They were really well in controlling it here.
Yeah, I know you guys really had your hearts set on the electric bicycles, but we thought these would save money.
All right. This brings us to item number 7 on the agenda tonight, which is public comment. So a few words, rules, guidelines surrounding public comment. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any city-related issues, both on the agenda and not. I ask that your comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. Public comment is the only time tonight to address the City Commission on agenda items, as there aren't any public hearings scheduled for this evening. If you wish to speak tonight, please wait until recognized by me, the mayor, and come up to the podium. For the record, you'll have to state your name and address. Please be mindful that the City Commission wants to hear from anyone who wishes to speak tonight. So comments are limited to 5 minutes or less, and we have a timer up at the podium to keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, don't hesitate at any time to email or call the City Commission with your comments. Please note that the City Commission will not respond directly to questions during public comment. However, we are taking notes and will address questions when the agenda topic is discussed or refer to the proper city department if the matter isn't scheduled to be discussed on the agenda tonight. Our city manager is taking notes, and we'll look into matters as needed. Okay. Who's first? Yes, sir. Mr. Wendland. I can pass them down for you, John, if you like. Okay. Thanks, John.
My name is John Wendland. I live at 703 Irving, WROK. I'm in a residence, will be 84 years next month. So I've been around a little bit here in WROK. I'm here tonight to kind of clear up some misunderstanding, I think, by some people. It's about the Veterans War Memorial. In front of me, in front of you, I gave you a copy of the ordinance of the Veterans War Memorial. And I had underlined the purpose of the Veterans War Memorial and the designation of the memorial area. Some people don't really understand what memorial means, or destination of the area, at least from the experience I've had in the last several months, especially. It was, and this particular one is the one for here, behind us, between the library and the City Hall, the Veterans War Memorial Plaza. That piece of property there was dedicated back in November 6, 2007. At that time, that area was designated to honor all the men and women from the United States and Canada, the sacrifice they gave, the ultimate sacrifice. And this is a special place for this, for these people. And you really you just can't just use that any way you want. That's why we had it dedicated, so you can't move it around back and forth like a hot potato. Think about what that place is about. It's about the people that gave their life. Just think about that. They did it because they wanted to, or didn't want to, but they did. So this is a special place that we gave them so we can honor them, and the families that can come and visit that place from time to time. We have 50-some parks here, and I know there's a piece of art that was placed on that property. Has nothing to do with the war memorial or about the ones that lost their lives. And the 188 names that are on the war memorial that lost their lives from WROK. Keep that in mind when we discuss this more throughout the evening. If you have any questions about the war memorial, and I know a lot about it because I was in the instrumental of getting this written up, so this place was dedicated. We have 2 pieces of properties in WROK that are dedicated. For someone that I don't know, the other one is the Memorial Park there, 13 Woodward. That's also a dedicated park. At one time, the city was trying to sell it, and they couldn't sell it, even though the city commission, the mayor, they all voted to sell it, but they had to put it on the ballot, and the residents of WROK didn't want to sell it, so they got voted down. This is the same thing on this property too. It's not to reflect any bad things on their part, but it's a important piece of legislation that should be decided by the people. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Marlin. Ms. Hennessy.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Carol Hennessy, 258 East 12 Mile Road. This is my 3rd time coming to the Commission in a row, asking about the Veterans Memorial Plaza and the piece of art on the property. No one has contacted me except for David Polton, and he said he would try and do whatever he can. And I still haven't heard back from anyone else talking to me about it. So we went to the Commission of the Arts and talked to them there. I'm speaking today for the Royal Oak Memorial Society, our veterans, and myself. I am asking that the Commission approve the changing of the art piece on the green space in the Veterans Memorial Plaza site. We don't mind art, but am asking to replace the art that is now there to something relating to veterans. This area is dedicated land for the Veterans War Memorial. I would like to explain what the Veterans War Memorial is. The reason for this is that at the Commission for the Arts meeting, State Representative Jim Ellison didn't know what it was, and neither did the Commission. The memorial is for any Royal Oaker that is in the service and has been killed in the war. This memorial is only for Royal Oak residents that was killed in one of our wars. It was stated at this Commission of the Arts meeting that we did not have a monument for all wars. I explained that we have a monument for each war that had casualties. I also explained that when we moved the monument to where it is today, we did a lot of checking to make sure we had moved all the monuments into this one area and that everyone's name was on it. We found out through John Wendland, who did most of this investigation, that 24 names had been omitted, and we made sure that they got added to the monument. People came at the dedication and cried and thanked us for adding their names because they had not had closure because their loved one had been killed, and it meant a lot to them. We also asked the police and the fire department if they had lost anyone because we wanted to include them but the fire department said they had none, and the police department said they did not want one at this time. The area to the east of the monument was left free of any monuments because we were saving it for a future time if we ever needed to add a monument, which hopefully we never do. Thank God we haven't had to add any so far. Any related piece of the art to our veterans is welcome. The Royal Oak Memorial Society worked very hard on this project, and it took us 3.5 years to get it done. The city had no money and told us we needed to do everything on our own. We did as a community. The community came together and we raised enough money and enough donations from the DDA, C.E. Gleason Constructors, and his contractors to make this possible. It took $180,000 to complete, and I'm thankful and grateful to our community for accomplishing this. This site has meant so much to so many people. I will find notes to my dad, grandfather, uncle, or brother sending love messages and missing you messages. They leave flowers with notes at the monument. This is truly the best place for this monument because it brings awareness to our community. Families will walk out of the library and say, Dad or Mom, what is that? And the family will go to the monument and explain to their children what the monument is about, our veterans and the freedom we received because of them. So we, the Royal Oak Memorial Society, stand before you to ask you to place a piece of art that represents all those that gave their lives for us. And I also would like to thank Dave Polton, Marie Dunnigan, and Jerry Marley for their service and wish you the best. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name's Don Wirt. I live in 105 Booth Road in Troy, but I am the current commander of the Royal Oak American Legion on Main Street. We feel that if the American Legion doesn't look out for our falling heroes and our returning vets, then who will? That's why we're here tonight. Mr. Wendland gave all of you this paper that he just gave you, and it's the Chapter 156 Veterans War Memorial. And it's down 156-3, so the Royal Oak City Commission, which is you, ladies and gentlemen, makes the following findings. And if you read paragraph B, 2006, the Veterans War Memorial was moved from the western end of the Hallman Plaza to its current location between City Hall and the library and was rededicated. I think that's a key word, in the memory of the members of the American and Canadian Armed Forces who lost their lives in the service of their country. The current site of the Veterans War Memorial is an appropriate location for the memorial, and the designation, again, of that area for the continued use as a memorial honoring members of the American and Canadian Armed Forces who have lost their lives in the service of their country should be formalized by way of ordinance. I think that this has already happened, and we have nothing against art, but we don't see what this piece of art, which is beautiful, but we think it's in the wrong location. We don't see what that has to do with honoring veterans. So that's why we're here tonight. We feel that that area should be solely to honor veterans, and this piece of art is beautiful in itself, doesn't belong there, we feel. Thank you.
Anybody else tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Marianne Dunmeyer. I live at 921 Fernwood. I've lived in Royal Oak for just over 28 years, and I wanted to talk about transit, and I wanted to make sure that I did this before Marie left the commission because I said I would. A couple of years ago, I had an opportunity, well, no, I was kind of forced to make use of the Royal Oak senior transit because I broke my hip and they wouldn't let me drive. And I just wanted to say it was very good for my purposes. And I took a look today at the report that's on your agenda for later this evening about transit and some possibilities for improvement. And I noticed that you have recognized the fact, or it seems like you've recognized the fact that seniors and disabled people don't just live between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. It looks like you're looking at some possibilities for weekends and evenings and I applaud you for that. I hope you'll be able to carry through with that. Realistically, I looked at my calendar and I've got something going on every night, and not a one of them would be able to be solved with public transit as it exists in Southeast Michigan right now. I don't have a bus to take out to Novi for my eye doctor's appointment unless I get a new eye doctor here in town. So until we get to a point where we have self-driving zip cars that will come and pick me up, take me where I want to go, bring me home, and go drive themselves back to their zip car lot, we've still got a lot of work to do. And so I know this, the WROK project is one step in that direction. There's still a long way to go, so just kind of keep at it, biting off another piece at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunbar. Who's next? Yeah. Mr. Regan.
Tom Regan, I live at 3126 Glenview, but like Mary Ann, I was here to applaud you for putting transit on the agenda. You know, it's something we just desperately need. Of course, it would be a lot better if we had a decent regional transit system, but given the uncertainty of that, I think Royal Oak plowing ahead on this it's just a good idea, but I applaud you for moving forward on that. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Commissioner Donegan and Commissioner Polton and Commissioner Marley. Thank you very much for your service. You're just very, very intelligent and thoughtful public service, exactly the kind of people we want to run for city commission, and you'll be dearly missed. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. See a hand in the back there? I can't see. Yes. Eileen? I can't see very well. Yes, it is.
Glad to see everybody survived last week. My name's Eileen Orlansky, and I live at 1851 Torquay Royal Oak. That's out in Coventry Park. And I was here a couple months ago or so, and I had a couple topics I talked about. And I just wanted to make sure that you didn't forget about it or put it on the back burner. And one of them is housing for seniors. We do need to make sure that the commission considers senior housing for Royal Oak, that many of us that live here want to stay here. And we need single-family, one-level apartments or homes that are state-of-the-art, you know, something that we all like to live in. The other point I wanted to bring up is transit, and I see that's been brought up. I didn't know it was on the agenda, Robo, I guess it's called. But I support that, and hopefully that we do have a transit system here in Royal Oak, because we need to be able to get into Royal Oak without driving our cars and get to our doctor's appointments and to the theater and all the places, restaurants that we want to visit. The other item that I'd like to talk about is I do live on 14 and Crooks, and I don't know if any of you drive out there, but on 14 and Crooks, about 3 o'clock there's so much traffic, and it's backed up all the way. I don't know how far it goes, but at least to Myers, and probably goes all the way to 12 Mile Road. Now, I know that there's been more apartments built on Crooks Road, and I don't know if there's been a study done to see how the traffic patterns have changed, if any, but maybe the lighting, the traffic lights need to be changed, or something has changed in the last maybe year or two. So sometimes what happens is some of the, instead of waiting for the light to change, they scoot through Coventry Park. And we do have private roads, which we don't like to have a lot of traffic, or at least amount of traffic as possible on them. So a solution, one of the solutions might be to do a study, if you haven't already, on the traffic patterns of Crooks Road for those 2 or 3 miles, and possibly see how, if you can do a count some way of how many of those cars are coming into Coventry Park and using our roads, and maybe have a sign saying, no, turn only residents, or something that would help keep the traffic out and using our roads. That's it. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Are you talking specifically, because I go through that area a lot to get to work when I was not retired, when the left-hand turn from northbound traffic onto Parmenter, that particular intersection, is
Yes.
that the troublesome one you're talking about?
That's the one that
Okay.
will, because Parmenter is a city road,
Yeah.
but then they'll take, then the turn usually happens on Coventry, which is our private road. So they'll kind of scoot through there.
Okay.
And trying to make a left-hand turn
It's
is
a nightmare.
impossible.
Yeah, it's awful.
So I
Okay.
don't know if what's your thoughts on that, but it would be good to look at it.
Thanks, I just wanted to make sure that that was what we were talking about.
about. Torquay, they turn into that, but that's a city road, but they still scoot into the,
Into the
Yeah.
subdivision back there. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I suspect some of the modern navigation software
Oh, I'm
is
sure it's
redirecting
right
people to
through
the
there,
shortest
yeah.
route, yeah. Sorry. All right, who's next? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jack Hall. I'm a longtime resident of Royal Oak. I've been the chaplain of the Royal Oak VFW for the last 17 years. And I'm in with them trying to get some nice military monument that matches what the theme we have there. Now, I know I could probably get a tank or an old aircraft, something put it there, but that's not feasible, not enough room. But I think there's something, some kind of 3-man soldier or something you've seen other cities have, or some kind of artwork that would be more appropriate for there, something that was fit the theme of the park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor Fournier and City Commissioners. I'm Dr. Wallace Anderson, 404 Mount Vernon Boulevard. And just for the minutes, my name is spelled Wallace, W-A-L-L-I-S, and the last name is Anderson with an S-E-N, and I appreciate that. Oh dear, I cannot imagine you all haven't read the November-December D-Business article titled Royal Deal. But in case you haven't had access to it, I brought 3 copies. Maybe I am aware of accusations that this investigative journalism article is slanted or biased. While all writing, because it cannot include every detail, has some omissions, D-Business is part of the Our Media publication family and has a solid reputation. Norman Sinclair, the lead author, was an investigative reporter for the Detroit News for 34 years and now applies his skills as a freelance writer. These reporters have no conflicts of interest. I really hope you will not lightly dismiss the concerns the article raises. And I call once again for the city to do its due diligence, have professional, formal studies done for parking, for traffic, for environmental impact before starting work on the city center project. It may be just fine, but we have no independent studies to substantiate that. The parking study that Mr. Boji spoke of in a recent commission meeting was done by the developer himself. The opportunities for bias were rampant. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any other hands? Going once, going twice. Okay, we're going to bring the meeting back up here. Which brings us to number 8 on our agenda, which is approval of the agenda. I know, Mr. Gillum, you have a few amendments you'd like to propose.
Mayor Forney, I've got 2 items that I would ask the commission to pull and remove from tonight's agenda. First is item number 10, the 11 Mile Road parking structure update and request for modification to contract COP 1709. Talk with Mr. Fenton shortly before the meeting tonight. It's my understanding there's some additional information that the commission has requested, so we would ask that the matter be pulled from the agenda tonight. Second is item number 17, a possible tentative agreement. We had hoped to have a tentative agreement with one of the, is it 6? Okay. I have an older copy of the agenda. Yeah, number 16, thank you. We had hoped to have a tentative agreement with one of the city's bargaining units to bring to the city commissioner for approval tonight, but we're a little bit too aggressive in our time schedule. We're still trying to work out some of the details on that. So we would ask that you pull that item for tonight. We should have something for you probably at your next regular business meeting in December.
With those changes, are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda as presented and suggested by Mr. Gillum? Okay. With none, I'll call for the vote. Oh, is there a motion? Yeah, it's been a while. We've had a little time off, haven't we? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
To approve the amended agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner DeBuck, supported by Commissioner Douglas. Any discussion? Okay, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We have an approved agenda. That brings us to item number 9, the consent agenda, which consists of claims from October 27th, November 7th, 8th, and 10th of 2017, approval of purchase orders, approval of mutual release of all claims Harper on Main LLC versus the City of Royal Oak, approval of Second Amendment to Care Here interlocal agreement, and approval of sublease agreement for the Fern Care Facility, contract modification to contract CAP 1535, 2016 road reconstruction improvements, agreement with the Canadian National Railway, and contract modification to contract CAP 1701, Engineering Division, request to fill vacancy, approval of special event permit, Ultimate Fun Productions Christmas Spectacular and Santa Hat Hustle 5K, and approval of proposed First Amendment to Woodward Corners planned unit development. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Polton. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Perush. Any discussion? With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. This brings us to item number 11, scheduling fiscal year 2018-19 strategic planning meetings.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. It's that time of year to start formalizing our process for this year's strategic planning sessions. This year, we're going to be going with a slightly different process than we have in years past, with an objective to provide for staff input while keeping the process from being staff-driven. We're looking at doing 2 Monday night special meetings with the City Commission and 1 full Saturday meeting, similar to what we did last year, with the first one being Monday night, December 4th. Prior to the first meeting, staff is going to put together a progress report on current goals and objectives, and each department will also identify future potential goals, objectives, problems, and opportunities. This information will be distributed to the City Commission a few days prior to the meeting, which that first meeting will be used for the City Commission to discuss their assessment on the progress of last year's goals and objectives, and also to identify critical issues facing the community. Following that meeting, staff is going to work to identify steps that can be taken within departments to try and address the critical issues identified by the City Commission, which will culminate in a report that will be distributed to the City Commission in advance of the Saturday meeting, which we're planning for Saturday, January 20th. The goal of that Saturday session is going to be for the City Commission to draft an action plan for the coming fiscal year, which will then be distributed between the City Commission and staff to identify potential barriers for completing these, the goals and objectives that are set out. And then the final meeting will be a follow-up to finalize everything, and we're planning that for Monday, January 29th, 2018. Yeah, we're planning to use the same facilitator as we did last year, as the city commission seemed generally pleased with his facilitation of the process. And we've provided a proposal that he prepared for us, which was attached to the memo in the packet.
Any questions for Mr. Krisen?
Looks like we got the original one attached, not the update.
I don't think so.
As far as what's in here.
Oh, you're right, it is. We'll have to address that, but the total proposal will be $3,800 for the 3 meetings. The one that's actually in the packet, turns out, was just the original for 1 meeting.
You have any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Krisen. So we have a suggested resolution. Commissioner Perush.
I'll move approval of the resolution that's in front of us.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush, supported by Commissioner Dubak. Commissioner Perush.
The only thing that I would want to note is, for the public purposes, that all of these meetings, even the special meetings of the city commission, which these are all open to the public. I mean, it's going to be us sitting down and brainstorming and setting forth goals and objectives and so on. But the public is certainly invited to attend all of the meetings, and either at the meetings, in the breaks, or in between the meetings or whatever, we welcome your input as well. So this is not a closed process. That is something that the city commission has done on a regular basis, and it's very helpful in terms of identifying clear objectives for the next fiscal year, because we know we can't do everything. But it's also helpful for the public to understand that we go through this process, that we are not just doing things willy-nilly, and that we're not doing things without a specific plan of action and schedule of opportunities to actually begin and end projects. There is a fair amount of thinking that goes into it, and this is the beginning of, at least, of that process for this year.
Very good point. And I think the only thing I'll add to that is that, please provide us your input, via whatever medium possible that you feel comfortable with. We do go out, and I know Ms. Davids is here tonight, and I'm not going to put her on the spot, but we'll have, I imagine, the results of the Cobalt survey that we do every other year. Haven't seen the results, but they'll be presented to us, which we randomly sample residents and compare ourselves versus other communities, and we always ask a few extra questions, a couple, 2 or 3 questions, but for the most part, we can see where we're doing well, where we need to do better, and have a basis for setting the game plan for the next year. I'd ask city staff, not part of this motion obviously, but if we can make sure in the context of this that we have the existing plan available, because one of the things we look at are some of the things we've done in the past, what might be overlapping into the next year. It'd be helpful for people to see the context of that, of what we're planning to do for the next strategic planning session.
Yes, we'll have the existing plan and what the status of each item on the existing plan is.
And just like any other organization that has to plan, I mean, we have limited resources, limited amount of hours, and that means staff. So, we have great discussion. So I recommend you come out and listen. Can't do everything at once, but we try to set the priorities for the upcoming year, given, what the needs of the city are and what we've done and what we need to do. So, any other discussion on this one? So we got a motion on the table. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Krisen. You'll hear that on the time delay when he gets back there. Okay, this brings us to item number 12, the Planning Commission recommendation to rezone the southwest corner of South Washington and West Harrison Avenues, first reading.
Mayor, members of the commission, you do have a recommendation from the Planning Commission. As was indicated, it is a recommendation to approve a rezoning from mixed-use 2 to planned unit development for the property at the southwest corner of South Washington and West Harrison. The proposal is to build a 3-story building with 26 multifamily dwelling units in it with ground-level parking that would include 36 parking spaces for those 26 units. You will see the Planning Commission recommendations as part of that PUD rezoning included in your packet. It is the first reading. If the City Commission is in support of the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval, there is a recommended resolution at the pages 3, 4, and 5 of your commission letter.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Twing? Commissioner Perush.
I'll move approval of this resolution to approve this on first reading.
Motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Douglas. Discussion. Commissioner Dubak.
Just one question. I don't know if I'm looking at this right. Does it say that, Commissioner Douglas, did you abstain from that vote on planning?
I was late to the meeting.
Ah, gotcha. All right. So no reservations about it?
No, none at all.
Okay,
And
thank you.
And I will speak to that in a moment.
All right, thanks.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yeah, as the record shows that I abstained only because I arrived late to the meeting. I didn't hear the discussion and didn't feel right commenting on it, but I had addressed it the first time they came before the Planning Commission. This is an apartment building, and it has ground floor parking and underneath the building. And we on the Planning Commission were very we acknowledge the challenges of this small site on putting a building there. What we did insist on is that the developer fully screen the wall along Washington Avenue, because the main entrance to the building is on the side street. And so we did insist that they fully screen and block off that wall along Washington. And they did. When they came back to us, they came back with a design that accomplished that. And if I had been voting, I would have approved it, and will vote for it here today.
Commissioner Marley.
Thanks, Mayor. My kudos to the Planning Commission for working with the proposed developer to screen the parking, but I'm going to be voting no on this. Nothing against Urbane Apartments. They certainly have nice units throughout our city. But I think at a certain point, regardless of the difficulties of a particular site, we have to stand on our ideals of mixed-use development along our major corridors, especially ones within reach of downtown. I think it's a missed opportunity, especially when you have to rezone it to make it happen. Ground floor parking in this area is not the highest and best use of the property. And again, I just think we need to stop talking about it and start doing it. And that's why I'll be voting no.
Thank you, Mr. Marley. Any other discussion? Okay. Motion on the table. No further discussion. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Motion passes. This brings us to item number 13, Planning Commission recommendation on the master plan update and funding. Mr. Wing?
Every 5 years, the Planning Commission, by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, is required to look at the master plan and make a determination of whether its current configuration is sufficient and fine, whether certain sections need to be updated and do a partial revisions, or recommend to start the process to update the entire master plan. The original master plan as adopted was 1999. It was last amended with significant amendments in 2012. The Planning Commission has been looking at the master plan for several months, at not every month, but periodically over the last few months. And it's also a goal of the City Commission to update the city's master plan. Having said that, what the Planning Commission is recommending after reviewing it at their August and, at a prior meeting, they're recommending that you update the entire document. Given current staffing and configurations and other projects that are ongoing, we're recommending that start the next fiscal year. which would be 2018-19. In terms of that update, we also was provided an estimate that as part of that budgeting process, we're estimating it would have cost approximately $200,000. The City Commission did budget funds in this fiscal year, but as I indicated, it's unlikely that we'll get that started and spend any of those funds through the end of the fiscal year. Having said that, if the Commission's in support of the Planning Commission's recommendation to move forward with the complete update, there is a resolution contained in it that would direct staff to start preparation of an RFP to find suitable consultants to draft and prepare the comprehensive update so that would be ready to go with the next fiscal year.
Any questions for Mr. Twing? Commissioner Douglas.
Yes, Mr. Twing, does your estimate also include a rewrite of the zoning ordinance?
I think we would include that in the RFP. We'd ask them to bid separately on it. Depending on the amount of work that would come out of the proposal, yes, it would be my intent that it would attempt to include both. Although I don't know that we would release the contract for the zoning ordinance until after the master plan is done, simply because I think the zoning ordinance will be impacted by what's in the master plan.
Good, thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Twing? Commissioner Douglas.
Yeah, I'd like to move approval of the resolution.
A motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Donegan. Discussion?
Yeah, we've been going down this path for quite a while. The Planning Commission has talked about this over a period of time. And the conditions that you see in the memo here, the way Royal Oak has changed over the past 20 years really tells us that it's time to step back and reevaluate our master plan, both the environmental conditions as well as things that are happening in our city. I'm glad that we're that we're budgeting also for an update of the zoning ordinance, if for no other reason than modern technologies and methods of zoning ordinances make it really easy to create a digital document with illustrations and links that make it much more customer friendly than our current zoning ordinance. I'm pleased to see that they're contemplating adding planning staff. We lost staff in cutbacks over time, and we've got a lot of development going on in this community that affects the planning department. Site plan reviews. Mr. Twing is our community development director, not our planning director, and his focus has been taken to larger issues, leaving what I think is probably a gap in the planning department. So as we look at our budget for the coming fiscal year, I think that's probably going to be something we want to seriously consider as well.
Commissioner Donegan.
Yes, thank you. This is a very big deal. I was around for the 1999 update, and it was the community was fully engaged. Can you, as a planning commissioner or Mr. Thwing, just talk a little bit about the process of doing a master plan? Whose animal is it? Is it a matter of the city commission? Is it a planning commission kind of thing? Public engagement? Just a little bit about the process. Somebody?
Well, obviously, the process is primarily with the Planning Commission under the State Planning Act. The City Commission does have a role in that in terms of participation in the master plan, but the primary body would be the Planning Commission. Of course, there would be community engagement. I think the last time we did the plan, there were multitude of community meetings at various areas of the city. So a very big part of it would be the community engagement going forward. At the point there's a draft master plan that the Planning Commission has accepted, that document formally would come to the City Commission for your concurrence on that master plan. It's not necessarily required that you take an action, but if you objected to it, you'd have to say so and then send it back as to what you'd want to see happen with it. That's kind of a real short nut version of the process, but yes, there would be a great deal of public engagement.
Thank you.
Commissioner Perush.
I guess until I read the memo, I didn't realize that the last comprehensive update occurred so long ago in 1999. And when I think of some of the issues that have been popping up recently, but yet have been percolating for a while, for example, the issue of senior housing that has come up not only this evening, but in other meetings that we've had. It was an issue in the campaign this year. People don't realize how limiting the zoning ordinance can be when you're talking about solutions for senior housing, how the limitations of the different types of zoning classifications and so on in certain areas of the city make it impossible to even contemplate types of senior housing that might be the best appropriate type of housing for seniors. So given the fact that that whole demographic has changed radically in the city over the last 20 years, it's important that those kinds of issues be considered when we do this comprehensive redo of the master plan. So it's long overdue, and I'm glad that the Plan Commission is willing to take on the project. It's going to be a huge project. As Commissioner Donegan suggested, it can be, and as Mr. Twing suggested, it can be a little contentious at times, but it's something that every community needs to do, and I'm glad that we're starting the process.
Thank you, Commissioner Perush. Any further discussion? I'll just add to that it's time. I mean, it's been 20 years, and over that period, you know, our community has gone through significant transformation. I mean, we've seen it even in the past couple years, from the Vincetta overlay issue to, you know, the industrial area starting to become more residential. You know, the growth of certain parts of our community, how we plan to handle it, the growth of our downtown. There's just a lot to reconsider now, and we're also entering a phase of uncharted territories when it comes to technology and where the automobile industry is going and all of these great things. So I look forward to all the work we're going to have to put into it, as both Commissioner Douglas and I sit on the Planning Commission, but it'll be, you know, well worth the time to make sure we recalibrate and plan for the future. The last plan has served us pretty well, and like I said, it's time. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Twing. So this brings us to item number 14, proposed amendments to the minor in possession ordinance, first reading. Mr. Gillum?
Mayor Forney and City Commissioners, late last year, Governor Snyder signed a bill that would make significant changes to the existing state law involving the criminal offenses for minor in possession. The changes are both substantive and procedural. Probably the most significant one off the top of my head and the easiest to spell out is that for a first offense minor in possession, the offense is now a civil infraction, no longer a misdemeanor. There was an uproar because there were a large number of young individuals who were being arrested and convicted of minor in possession and essentially being saddled with a criminal record. And so in large part, this change to state law was intended to remedy that situation. So we need to revise the city code to be in compliance with the state law. The amendments to the state law become effective as of the 1st of January. And this ordinance, when approved on second reading, would bring us into compliance. So we would recommend approval of the ordinance on first reading. We'll bring it back for second reading at your first regular business meeting in December.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Gillum? Okay. Is there a motion? We have a motion by Commissioner Polton. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion. Commissioner Dubak.
Seems pretty straightforward, just bring us into compliance with the state law as we need to.
Yes.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. With that, I'll call for the vote, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, that brings us to item number 15, Normandy Oaks Task Force mayoral appointment. guess I'll kick it off since it says mayoral appointment. I wasn't sure if Mr. Johnson had anything to say. I'm sure he'll have some comments after. So the task was given to me to appoint 2 new members to the Normandy Oaks Task Force, given some of the departures on this current city commission. And I've elected to choose Ms. Melanie Macy as the first appointee and Ms. Kim Gibbs as the second appointee. Of course, until both of those candidates get sworn in, they won't be active on the Normandy Oaks Task Force, and I realize we have one more meeting prior to the official swearing in. So the current incumbent task force members will be fully present and participating in the next Normandy Oaks Task Force meeting. But as soon as the new commissioners are sworn in, the appointment will be effective. Anything to add, Mr. Johnson?
Only that the next meeting is on the 21st, and it's basically a meeting for Nowak and Frous to present the results, after they've now had time to tabulate them, of the public engagement program that we did a couple weeks ago at Churchill.
Yeah, I don't suspect a lot of decision-making to be taking place, more of just a presentation of results. And I would encourage, and I'm sure the new appointees will be there as well to listen and learn. But, you know, certainly it's not a strong actionable meeting, at least how it's designed. Yes, Commissioner Perush.
Procedurally, then, we don't make a motion tonight to approve your appointments, if we have to do that at all. We have to do that after the new commission is seated.
That's a great question for Mr. Gillum.
The commission could handle the matter in that fashion. The other option you'd have would be to make a motion tonight to confirm the proposed appointments effective upon the date that Ms. Gibbs and Ms. Macy are actually sworn into office as members of the city commission.
Why don't we do that then, tonight, just so that it's done and it doesn't get lost in the shuffle of all the other things that are going to occur at the beginning of a new session, and that way it's just done. Excuse me?
Make the motion.
I will make the motion that we confirm the appointment of Melanie Macy and Kim Gibbs to the Normandy Oaks Task Force effective upon their becoming city commissioners. How's that?
Sounds like a strong motion. Clear?
A little waffle at the end, but.
We have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Dubuck. Discussion? Okay, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. So that brings us to item number 17. It says here, possible approval of a separation agreement. Mr. Gillum.
Mayor Fournier and the city commissioners, what you have before you tonight is a proposed, get the title exactly right, separation agreement and release in full between the city and Sekar Bawa, the city treasurer. As was discussed briefly at a city commission meeting approximately a month ago, this summer there were some personnel matters that came to a head in the city treasurer's office. At that time, to determine exactly what was going on, my office retained outside counsel to conduct an investigation to determine what was going on in the treasurer's office. In the context of that investigation, discussions started between labor counsel to the city, Mr. Schiffman, and the attorney that was representing Mr. Bawa in the course of that investigation, as to what the potential terms would be that would allow both parties to move in a different direction in terms of staffing in the treasurer's office. The issues in the treasurer's office involved people other than Mr. Bawa, but the discussions were between Mr. Schiffman and his attorney. Those discussions led to the proposed separation agreement and release, which was in Mr. Schiffman's opinion, finally fell into an acceptable form the end of last week. I can affirm the statements that Mr. Johnson made at an earlier commission meeting that there are no allegations or any kind of indications of any kind of financial impropriety on anyone's part in the treasurer's office. These are personnel matters, not police matters. But again, we feel that's in the best interest of everyone involved to move in a different direction in the treasurer's office. We would recommend approval of the proposed separation agreement and release in full, and also authorize me as the city attorney to execute that document on behalf of the city. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions for Mr. Gillum? Okay. Is there a motion? Commissioner Perush.
I will so move approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush, supported by Commissioner Marley. Discussion? Okay. With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Okay, this brings us to item number 18, discuss Royal Oak Transit status and creation of Transit Task Force as requested by Commissioners Donegan and Douglas. Mr. Krisen, I think you're going to kick it off here.
Yes, thank you. So last year during the strategic planning process, a goal was identified to develop a public transportation plan. Over the last few months, Commissioner Donegan has kind of taken the lead on this and has coordinated conversations between city staff, staff from SMART, as well as other members of the city commission to identify possible ways to expand public transportation within the city. A general plan was crafted to create a Royal Oak-based public transportation system. And this system is supposed to expand bus service throughout the city while offering connections to the current SMART and Reflex systems. Currently, there's a request to form a task force to advise the City Commission on a strategy for further development and implementation of this program, as well as to identify specific funding sources and to finalize costs for the program. So I think Commissioner Donegan had a lot more she wanted to speak about.
I don't know about a lot more, but it is really still early, so plenty of time. Thank you. As we were speaking about goals earlier, thank you for bringing that up. That was an important goal, was to improve the mobility in and around the city. And we did two of the objectives, the north-south bike route and explore the development of a bike share program, done that. So the third thing is what we're going to talk about tonight. And so just to refresh everybody's memory, a year ago this very month, the Regional Transit Authority proposed 1.2 mils to pay for a regional transit system to connect 4 counties in Metro Detroit. The measure came within just 1,000 votes of passing in Oakland County, which surprised everybody, and did pass in Royal Oak. However, it did not pass region-wide. And so while the RTA considers its next move what it wants to do, a group of us thought it would be proactive for us to decide what kind of transit system we want here in the city of Royal Oak. So I put this in everybody's desk. You may have read that SMART, which is our suburban bus system, whose 1 mil operating millage is up for renewal in August, is proposing service changes that include limited stop, more frequent bus service on Woodward, Gratiot, and Michigan Avenues, and will also provide service to Detroit Metro Airport. Yay, everybody wants that. The new service would replace the current Reflex bus service. Those buses now come every 45 minutes, which is not optimum service. The new service buses will arrive every 15 to 20 minutes and operate later in the day, which is the exact formula for success, 15 to 20 minutes and operate later in the day. And if anybody who does not use that Woodward service, you need to, I say we take it to the Lions games on Sundays. It's the best way to go. We get on at 11 in Woodward, takes us right there for $6 round trip. We've actually made it to the Lions game and back several times. But even with those changes on Woodward, which are very welcome, SMART will still be a regional service, meaning we still won't have service that Royal Oak residents can use to go where we need and want to go every day. For instance, you'll be able to take a bus from Royal Oak to Novi, but you can't take a bus from 10 Mile and Lincoln to downtown Royal Oak. So as Mr. Krazan mentioned, we did meet with, was Mayor Fournier, Commissioner Douglas, myself, County Commissioner Dave Woodward, and staff met with Oakland County and SMART officials to discuss what kind of options we have. And we asked ourselves, is regional transit service and the limited but very important service we provide for seniors and people with disabilities all the transit service we want? And if it is not all the service we want, what service can we have? And I have to say, after all the years of discussion I've had and learning about public transportation in the state of Michigan, no one's ever asked that question. We've always just talked about regional transit service, even though I know there's great municipal transit systems all over the country. And as we talked about it, I thought, whoever thought about taking a bus from 13 and Main to Hollywood Market? Nobody. Whoever thought about taking a bus from 13 and Main to the farmer's market or downtown for a dinner or the drink? And the answer is nobody. Nobody's ever thought of it. So when the mayor and I were discussing how many people who drive and park downtown live just a couple miles away but still feel they have to get in their car and drive. And then you get to wonder, why is there no transit service on Crooks, even though it's loaded with apartment buildings and a high school? And the reason is those routes are local routes, and SMART is a regional transit system operating within its 1 mil budget to serve the entire region. And so can we realistically have service on Main Street, Crooks Road, Campbell, Lincoln, all of our Gardenia even, transit we can use every day? And then you ask, why would we want to? Well, 59% of Royal Oak voters, which in a year ago was 31,402 people, said yes, we want better transit. High quality transit increases property values. Communities that have high quality transit are healthier because people just walk more to get to the actual bus. High quality transit reduces the need for automobile infrastructure. And as we like to talk about it here in Royal Oak, that would be parking. Local transit will invite people to visit here on weekends, and view transit is a viable way to get here. We also know we want to offer more options for seniors who want to go to places at night and on weekends, but who don't need or want door-to-door service, but they still don't want to drive at night. And we know it will also create a more attractive business environment where employers can rely on alternative mode of transportation for their employees, and will create a stable and reliable and a broader employment pool. So after these meetings, Oakland County officials and SMART officials encouraged us to explore the idea of providing additional transit service, and the important part is with them as our partner. So you can see some of the attached documents, which are on the computer. We sat down with SMART and we did some preliminary planning. And we actually did call the proposed service WROK, which is a working title. And we looked at 8 potential routes to connect people to the places we go every day. And if you think about where you will go every day, the farmer's market, downtown restaurants, office buildings, all of our events, Boys and Girls Club, we have many parks, we have 5 grocery stores, the zoo, the senior center, places of worship, Beaumont Hospital. We have a high school, middle school, elementary schools. We want to coordinate with our bike share and our bike routes. And we really want to increase door-to-door services for seniors and people with disabilities. It's really important to know that these local routes need to connect with and don't duplicate our smart routes, but we do want to provide seamless service and regional connections. So, as the resolution says, we are proposing a task force, which is a working group of stakeholders to explore this option for Royal Oak. And because of the preliminary work that we've done, we won't be starting from zero. We've actually given them a lot to work with, but nothing is actually carved in stone. There are many realities, however, about providing transit service, like capital expenditures and operational costs that we have to work with. So the Transit Task Force will explore transit, what I call Transit 101, which is what is public transportation. Most people have no idea what public transportation actually even is, and what makes public transportation good, effective, and actually worth spending money on. And the hint is good public transportation relies on coverage and frequency. The only 2 words you need to know, coverage and frequency. How far does it go and how often does it come? So they would also look at the proposed routes, frequency, fares, all the things that make up a transit system. Also, what are our city and SMART responsibilities? What would we do? What would SMART do? What kind of management and operations would we have? How does it work with bike share or bike routes? And as Commissioner Douglas brought up several times, what about Lyft and Uber? How do they fit into all of this? Costs, how are we going to pay for it? Well, we know nothing, obviously, is free, and no one's ever going to pretend or don't want to pretend or even give the impression that this service won't cost real money, because it will, and everybody's got to be very honest about that and upfront, as of course everybody will be. But a partnership with SMART will help to offset costs in a variety of ways that are outlined in the attachment, and probably more that we can actually come up with. And besides SMART, who are our partners and what kind of contribution could they make? And most importantly, the task force would perform vigorous public engagement. I think because of the Normandy Oaks open house, the bar has been set very high for public engagement. As Commissioner Douglas points out, people are eager to become involved in shaping the city of Royal Oak. But during the transit campaign, a year ago, I made dozens of presentations, seems like hundreds actually, and many here in Royal Oak, the Interclub Council, the Optimist Club, the Seroptimist, the Kiwanis Club, clubs I've never even heard of. And I never met an audience that wasn't receptive to this conversation, whether it was young people, college students, middle-aged men and women, everybody wanted to talk about it, especially the airport service. So, the big question that they will all answer, the task force, is do we want to do this? That's really the question to start with and to end with. So, the task force would be made up of stakeholder groups like the Boys and Girls Club, who have a waiting list of kids who need to take their bus to get to the facility, the DDA. We have retailers and restaurant associations who have people who work there who cannot get to work, who leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to work to make coffee for all of us, and all the people who want to eat and drink safely. The Detroit Zoo, my many years of discussions with them, they've run out of places to park cars. They can pave paradise and put up a parking lot, which they don't want to do. You really can't walk there because walking is a nightmare. And on nice days, it takes an hour to get actually into the zoo. And people are backed up on our roads or backed up on the expressway waiting to get in. Beaumont Health obviously has a big giant facility here, not to even mention their brand new retail facility. They need to get employees to work and patients to their doctor's appointments. Had a nice conversation with our new superintendent, and parents still want buses. Public transportation bus. Will students take public transit? That's a great topic for conversation. Yes, students take public transportation buses all over this country, but it's not something that you just go into lightly. We have OCC, of course. Seniors who currently use the service and those who don't use the service. We've heard from some of those folks here. And obviously other interested parties. So I've had conversations with many of these stakeholders who's willing to sit down and have a conversation about it. I don't have the actual names tonight, but I would like to make the following motion. Be it resolved, the Royal Oak City Commission hereby creates the Transit Task Force of Royal Oak with members to be appointed at the November 27th, 2017 City Commission meeting, my last meeting. That's my motion.
Well, we have a motion by Commissioner Donegan. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Douglas. Commissioner Donegan, anything to say?
No, I think it's just been a really great opportunity to even think about doing this. It's never been done before. In fact, it's never been done in any other city. There have been municipal systems around the city, around the state. Ann Arbor was a municipal system. Kalamazoo, Saginaw, and Flint, those were all municipal systems that really wanted to expand to be regional systems. Well, like the opposite here is we have a regional system that's thinking about going local. So it's really never been done before. So with SMART as our partner, who's very eager to help us do what we need to do, this is a very important opportunity with them making their route changes, with their millage up. They're eager for us to get on the bandwagon and see if we can't make this happen. So they would be at our task force meetings in some way or another, just to make sure that they can lead the conversation. They're very excited for us. So,
thank you, Commissioner Donegan.
Thank you.
Commissioner Douglas.
Commissioner Donegan has covered the subject ably. Just a couple parenthetical notes. I was very gratified to see the extent to which SMART is able and willing to provide actual real hardware here in terms of buses and bus maintenance and so on and so forth. They provide the buses for our current senior transit system, and they're willing to step forward and even more fully participate in this. I think the idea that a community of 60,000 people like Royal Oak could establish its own bus system is radical. I mean, people all over Southeast Michigan turn to Royal Oak to see what cool things we're doing, and I think this is the next cool thing that will make us the envy of Southeast Michigan. We've talked about the fact that this is not, it's replicable. It's not scalable. So we would really be the prototype for other communities to establish their own local bus services and to start to find the points where they connect up, so you really have this ground level network of transportation available, for starters in South Oakland County, and let's see where it goes from there.
Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. Commissioner Dubak.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks to Commissioner Donegan for all the awesome work you put into this. This isn't just a concept that we all know needs to be addressed as far as really broaching a comprehensive transit system. What you've done is actual work that we can actually build on and consider the feasibility of going forward. On that note, I can hear the conversations happening tomorrow, like, can you believe that they're proposing this? As opposed to what we have now is some actual information that we can build this task force on and have this conversation, which we must have for all the reasons that you noted, that for our aging population, for millennials, and for young families who would like to be able to get downtown with kids without having to walk miles to get to a bus to go to a Tigers game. This is the future, and I think now is the time to have the conversation. I'm happy to help however I can.
Thank you, Commissioner Dubak. Any other discussion? I'll just add that Commissioner Donegan has done an amazing job. When she first, I remember having coffee at least a number of times, but the first time that she brought this forward, I have to say I wasn't skeptical, but conventional wisdom would always say that transit systems are nearly impossible. But the more we dug into it, the more we set aside those preconceived fixed notions, the more we spoke casually with other potential stakeholders in this community, the more we started to map it out, cost it out, the more we looked at the fact that, voters in this community overwhelmingly voted for the RTA, the more we looked at the economics, when you don't just look at the cost of the bus system, but you look at the costs that we're enduring as a community by not having a transit system. How many parking garages are we building at $16 million a pop? What sort of road repairs are we doing? We had a public comment tonight talking about congestion on Crooks and 14. There are a number of issues out there. It's not that a transit system is not to be evaluated solely in itself. It has to be compared to all the other things in the community that relate to it. So the more we sat down, we saw the willingness was smart. We have seniors, high school seniors, and seniors of age in the community that could benefit from this. Beaumont Hospital, this is a great opportunity to get not only our residents to the health care that they need, but to help in an amazing capacity. I could list everything that Commissioner Donegan listed, but to me, just that list itself, is enough to give ourselves permission to look at this in a new and innovative way. There are plenty of communities in North America that are smaller than Royal Oak that have, very effective and highly utilized transit systems. Why can't we be just like them? Why are they seeing the benefits, and for whatever reason in the past, we couldn't see them? So I'm very excited about the work Commissioner Donegan has done, and I'm very excited to see the stakeholders come together and put something in front of us that we can look at, again, without any preconceived fixed notions, to look at it for what it is, to view it in a context that I don't think historically communities, at least in Southeast Michigan, have ever viewed it before. I'm excited about it. I'm eager to see what the economics say behind it, and I'm eager to see what the community feedback is. I think the one thing that Commissioner Donegan did leave off of her list is There are some who have spouses that wear fashionable shoes but seem to be uncomfortable, that could also benefit from having a transit system in downtown.
Well, and I will say, I drive an old car. I bought the car when I got elected to the State House, which was 2004. And I drove it back and forth for 6 years, and I've been driving it ever since. So I have about 220,000 miles on that car, and it never fails me. But it's gonna fail me one day, and I said, I don't wanna buy a new car. I wanna try and live in the city with one car. And, but in order to do that, I have to have a way to get around. And so there is a bus, a smart bus that stops at the end of my street. It stops in front of the Salvation Army. It's the Smart 430 bus, and it comes to downtown Royal Oak. But it goes in the morning. So if I wanted to use it, I would have to go somewhere in the morning and then wait around all afternoon for it to pick me up, which is not what you look for in an actual public transportation system. You want to be able to go reasonably, when you want to go to your, to the grocery store, or the doctor's appointment. You don't want to wait around all day. So yeah, living without two cars would be really great and economical.
But it's got to be done right.
And even when I'm wearing sensible shoes.
And I'll even mention even some of the smaller things that come before this commission all the time. The neighborhoods around downtown are always asking for permits because people don't want to pay for parking in and around the downtown area. So the employees or whatever park in the neighborhoods, or there's a particular business that's driving traffic and all of this. This helps alleviate a number of those type of stressful situations for neighbors. I mean, and that's just in the small context, not even in the big context that Commissioner Donegan has outlined, I think, so eloquently.
And it did come up with, when I met with Jay Dunstan from the DDA, chair of the DDA, he stops and gets coffee every morning at the Starbucks, the downtown Starbucks, and early. And one of the baristas, if that's the correct word, she takes a cab from where she lives to get to work at 5 in the morning. She leaves it from Macomb County at 5 in the morning and takes a cab, which is $20, which is a lot of money if you're just gonna be making coffee all day long, so.
Well, I'm excited to see the eventual outcome of this. So we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Donegan.
Thank you.
This brings us to the end of our agenda. Notwithstanding anything more to discuss, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Marley.
Mr. Mayor, I do hereby declare the people's business finished for this evening of November 13th, 2017, and I move that we adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner
You were
Marley.
expecting something more verbose.
I was clearing my throat thinking I'd have time. We have a motion by Commissioner Marley. We have support by Commissioner DeBuck. Any discussion? With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned.